This is Amateur Logic, episode 201, for January 17th, 2025. Amateur Logic is brought to you by Icom. Happy New Year from Icom. This holiday season, let your passion for communication shine bright with Icom's industry-leading ham radios. Hello, welcome to another episode of Amateur Logic. I'm George.
I'm Tommy.
I'm Cheap.
And I'm Mike.
It looks frigid up there, man.
Yeah, actually, I chose this background just because it's kind of the way things look around here. Everything's covered in snow except for things like trees that are above ground level. And it's been cold for the last couple of weeks. I think today was the first day we got up to freezing. So, yeah, winter's here for sure.
Wow. Well, we won't catch up with you, but we're going to give it a real try next week when it gets down in the teens here.
Yeah, let's just act like we did. Don't really do it.
Yeah.
That means it's going to get even colder up here.
Tommy, what's been going on over there?
Not too much. Doing the show from home this time. Got a little bit of temp, so to figure out to spare you just in case. But I hadn't really done much. I'm the slacker of the month. I've been training my whole life for this, so I'm really taking it to the extreme.
Well, it's going to be hard to keep up with someone like email on that.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I mean, yeah. I don't know if there's any way you could ever catch up to Emil.
Emil, what's been going on down there?
Well, I'm still building the shack. Waiting for some doors to be installed so I can lock things up and start building. And me and Glenn Strecker in the chat room are going to go try to head out to the Ham and Ham Fest tomorrow morning in Hammond, Louisiana. So hopefully we'll get to see some more vendors at the Ham Fest. That's what we've been up to over this way, George.
That sounds like fun. Next weekend is... Well, I hadn't looked at the temperature, but that's Winter Field Day, isn't it, Tommy?
Yes, it's the week before the Ham Fest. So, yeah, that would be next weekend.
So, I don't know. Well, jury's out on that. It might be too cold here.
No, we go from one extreme to the other, man.
Yeah. Or else we have a Ham Fest that weekend. So, I don't know. We'll have to see on that.
I'll probably do something. I don't know what, but... I may not go camping, but I'll probably get out and do something. I hope. I'm going to try. Depending on the weather, though.
Yeah. Mike, you have a Maverick pickup now, don't you?
I do.
Now, is it a hybrid? Is it gasoline, electric? What is it?
It is a hybrid. And I didn't realize this at the time, but the actual... electric motor is driving or assisting the internal combustion engine all the time. It's just the internal combustion engine will. Somebody told me that it goes by speed. I haven't driven it enough to really figure out when it kicks in. It does have a gauge that tells you when you're using the battery to assist. And it tells you in a percentage as well on the internal combustion engine side how much of a percentage the internal combustion engine is assisting the electric drive. So I'm told under 30 miles an hour it's electric, but I can't say for sure if that's the case.
Okay. Well, the reason I brought that up is Email had something. Well, he wanted to talk about this month. He doesn't have one, though.
I don't have one, George, but we did get a post. So, Mike, I want you to pay attention to this because you could probably do some actual field tests for one of our Facebook viewers and post. So pay attention to this one real quick. We got a message from Jim Curtis, N8HAM out of Michigan, I believe, who asked us or told us, I'm considering buying a Ford Maverick with the hybrid engine. Someone suggested that there might be some noise hash on the HF radio mounted in the vehicle that would occur when the vehicle was in regenerative braking mode. Can anyone confirm or refute this? So, Mike, that sounds right up your alley. But before I ask you that question, I did some research on my own and found the inventor of APRS, who's a silent key now. I don't know if y'all remember Bob Bruninga, I think his name was. It was a silent key, but he had a lot of information on his APRS sites about EVRFI, and he's been tracking it for years. He's an engineer and is on some IEEE, or was on some IEEE committees for transportation and aerospace stuff. So he did a lot of information. So Curtis, check out some of the QRZ entries on WB4 APR, as well as the APRS.org website. Just go check out some of that information. There's a lot of information there about what he found from solar panels, from EVs, and all the hybrids. But Mike, you sound perched to give us some direct input on that.
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that, Emil, because I have full intentions of going HF mobile.
Nice.
It'll be the first time I do that, and it's going in the truck, and I'll be more than happy to report. And yeah, I forgot about the regenerative braking. It's kind of neat. Depending on how your driving habits are, it gives you a little, probably within a second or two after you've come to a complete spot, a little thing pops up on your dash, tells you what percentage you've recouped in terms of energy. And I think the worst I hit was like 86% returned. Most of the time it's in the 90s or even 100%. But again, it depends on your driving habits. So when I get the HF rig in there, you'll be the first to know.
And you just won't be able to use the brakes. That's the only...
Well, that's the only thing. I mean, when I'm braking, am I really operating the radio?
Well, I mean, when you're transmitting, it won't really matter. But if you're down to the last letter on that DX...
Yeah, we should talk about the distracted driving laws down there, because I know up here in Canada we were on a kind of a yearly thing where we got exemptions, and one of the fellows was really active in that particular area, and he managed to convince us to get a full exemption. So we've got a permanent exemption on the distracted driving.
Ah, cool.
Does it vary by state down there? Or is that a federal thing?
Probably may vary by state.
So the distracted driving laws are state by state.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like New York's really strict on it.
Yeah.
Here they've got some laws, but they don't really enforce it.
So when y'all become the 51st state, you can keep your distracted driving laws.
That's been in the news a lot lately.
Yeah. I'll tell you, that's, I think it's, I don't think there's anything to it, but if it is, it's up to y'all, So,
well,
yeah.
Yeah.
What's on your project list tonight? I think it's something I've been wanting to see for quite a while.
Are we talking about the 12 volt? Well, I don't have it in my hand here, but about a battery pack that I was making out of these reclaimed 18650 lithium ion cells from laptops.
That sounds like it.
DIY 12 volt lithium ion battery. I found these interesting lithium battery pack boxes that you can complete a 12 volt battery from individual 18650 cells. And I got this one on Temu, but I've seen them advertised on other sites like AliExpress and so forth. The kit is available in 4 different colors and comes with everything you need to complete a 12 volt lithium ion battery, except for the you have to provide the 18650 cells. The battery box dimensions are exactly the same as the popular 12 volt 8 or 9. Actually, it comes in 7 amp as well. A valve regulated sealed lead acid battery. This image shows the various popular lithium-ion cells, with the pink one in the middle being an 18650. You can also buy 18650 cells with solder tabs. If you have to buy your own 18650 cells, just be aware there's a lot of false claims out there. 9800 milliamp hours? I don't think so.
Okay, to build our battery pack, we're going to need some 18650 cells. But first I want to tell you there's basically two different types. There's the button type, and then you've got the flat tops. And the flat tops are generally found in the battery packs that are used for laptops. And these are the ones that I've recovered from old laptops. Just be aware that the new laptops use a solid state flat lithium ion battery pack, and they're no use to us. So we want the 18650s like this. And if you have to buy new, and if you can't find the flat tops, you can buy the button tops, but just be aware that they're a little bit more difficult because there's not as much surface area to solder to. So first thing we want to do, and I should point out too, when you pull these out, a lot of times you'll damage the wrappers. So I recommend that you replace the wrappers, and these are available just about anywhere. I got these from Amazon, and they're like a heat shrink tubing, and we're gonna show you how to do that. But one other important thing I wanted to make sure that you realize, you want this evenly spaced, and you want to use one of these insulating washers, because as you can see there, the metal case on the outside is a negative, and it's rolled around and crimped, and it doesn't leave much to short that out. So we want to make sure we use an insulating washer like this. So we're going to put this on. We're going to get a wrapper. Well, actually, I'll do one of these since it's already in there, and put my insulator there. And it's probably a good idea to use a glove since it's going to get pretty warm. So I'll just slip this on. Get my heat gun. And it didn't take very long. You can see it shrinks up pretty well. You can see there's a nice shrink on the bottom as well. So we'll just let that one cool. And that's all there is to it.
When salvaging battery cells, like the 18650s from battery packs, you'll want to get an idea of the health of each cell, so that when you build a new battery pack from the 18650s in this case, you want an idea of how well that cell is performing. And that way you can kind of grade the batteries, so to speak, so that you can get them closely as matched as possible. And one way to do it is with one of these intelligent LCD battery chargers. They have the ability to do a capacity check. That's a good way of, in fact, it's probably the best way to grade your cells. If you don't happen to have one of these intelligent battery chargers that checks capacity, you can use your voltmeter. It's better than nothing.
Okay, so if you don't have a battery charger that will actually read the condition or capacity of the batteries, you can do a simple test with a voltmeter like I did. And I just indicated the voltage on each of the cells. And then that way I can kind of arrange them in an order where they're balanced in a group as close as I can get them. That way the BMS or the battery management system doesn't have as big of a job to do when it's charging.
As previously mentioned, the kit comes with these nickel strips for interconnecting the 18650 cells. You can install those by either welding them or soldering them. As you can see in this image here, the 18650s that are spot welded make a much neater job, but I just couldn't justify spending the money for something that I only do on a rare occasion. So I'm going to stick with soldering. I'm going to use my trusty Weller soldering gun and some liquid rosin soldering flux. Okay, I've got my batteries graded, and I've got them kind of balanced out as much as I can manually with the readings that I've took with the voltmeter. And now we're going to interconnect them with this these nickel strips. But in order to solder the nickel strip, we're going to apply some Capacitor 1544, which is just a rosin flux. And I'm going to just put a little dot on each of the terminals here. Okay, I think we'll try this one here. And according to the diagram in the instructions, we've got an alternating, these are all positive side up, these are all negative side up, and these are all positive side up, according to what's in the diagram. So the first one goes like this. And it's kind of nice that they put these little slots in so that we can apply some solder and heat. Let's see here. We'll just work with a piece of solder here. And that hissing noise is the flux melting, actually vaporizing. Oops, that didn't go so well. I might need to tack down a couple of spots and go over that one again. This diagram illustrates the various connections for our battery. We've basically got 3 cells in series, and then we've got 7 of those 3 in series. There's 7 in parallel to that, so that gives us our added capacity. On the BMS board, we'll be making 4 connections to the battery pack itself. Those 4 connections are at various voltage points in the battery pack for the balancing of the cells. These voltage points are silk screened on the board. There are 4 solder pads on each corner. One thing that wasn't included in the kit that you'll need to complete your battery is a small length of a connecting wire to connect to the terminals on the top of the battery case to the BMS board. And you'll need something at least probably 14 gauge for that. All right, so I've went ahead and finished soldering up the nickel strips on both sides. Just note, I ended up marking my direction of my cells because they're kind of hard to see once you've got them in there. And don't rely on this diagram too much. You're better off to mark them. And just remember, the diagram is correct here. You're connecting 3 in series, 3 of the 4.7 cells in series to give you the 12.6 output. So that's done. The BMS board is attached. And again, I noticed that the instructions, the board is a little different. So don't go by the parts orientation on the board. Go by the silk screening on the board. It's got it marked on each corner what should be connected to which. And if you're in doubt, just get your trusty voltmeter and measure them first before you solder the board in place. So now that's all in together.
And I should be able to get somewhere. Now, mind you, I probably need a charge, but let's have a look and see what we get on the output of this battery. Well, it's 11.81. So it definitely needs charging, but that's it. That's the assembled battery pack. All that's left to do is put it in the case and snap the top on, and away we go.
The capacity of your finished battery will depend on the 18650 cell capacities. All that's left to do is to give the battery a good charge. Now, where did I put my battery charger? 7.3 for now from VE3 MIC.
He still eats like that today, and strangely enough, he always goes in the clockwise position.
Well, if he was on the other side of the equator,
that's right. Maybe if I took him to Australia, he'd go the other direction.
Yeah. Interesting. So, have you had it built long enough to put it into service yet?
I have not, and I actually bought 2 of those kits with the idea that I was going to use it to replace the 2 12-volt sealed lead acid batteries that are in my UPS, but I actually ran short on. I'm going to have to salvage some more cells. I've got 9 left over, and of course I took the best of the best I had to build that battery pack. And some of them were actually reading, well, this one's 3.96. That's not too bad. This one is probably the lowest one at 3.8. But when you got other cells that are reading like 4.1 something, it kind of leaves me to question, without running a capacity check on it, what kind of life is left in them. One thing about those kits, and I should show you another one that I bought. And that being said, I would say you can buy the cells, but I don't know if it's economical to build that kit if you're having to buy the cells. If you have the 18650s kicking around, I would say go for it, because the battery box itself is under $20. And certainly that's worthwhile building it. But if you have to spend money buying those 18650s, then I don't know if it's economical. This is another battery box, mind you. It's only 5-volt output, but it's got a couple of USBs on there. And the nice thing about this one is there's no soldering involved, because if I could get it open here. There's no soldering involved because it's got battery connectors inside it.
Okay.
So you just pop them in and away you go. In fact, let's see.
What's the capacity on the one you made? Theoretical?
The one I made, they claim 20 amps, but I don't know if I'd give it 20 amps. I'd say probably half of that. I mean, I guess you could do a calculation on to the whatever the capacity is of your average 18650.
Yeah.
Multiply that by 7, I guess. That would give you a rough estimate, but I have no idea what it's going to be until I actually get it charged. Well, that's interesting. The circuit board's transparent.
You still haven't had a chance to charge it?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to charge it. No, like I said, I have to find my my battery charger. I think my other chargers
variable power supply.
Well, that's it. I've got a variable voltage power supply, and I'm probably going to end up using it. But I haven't had an opportunity. Truth be told, I only finished soldering it up yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to really give it a test. But this one's a convenient way if you only need like 5 volts. If you want a power bank for your phone or something, that's a good way to use up your 18650s as well, because there's no soldering involved. You just snap them in like like you saw me do it there.
Wow.
And it looks like 83%. So this probably needs charging as well. But
Cool.
It's kind of a nice looking case.
Yeah.
It wasn't that expensive. It's a good way. Another good way to use up basically free batteries. If you can discount the fact that you probably have to shrink wrap them again, because getting them out in one piece is a little difficult. So you end up tearing the sleeves or the wrappers on them.
Yeah.
But you saw how easy it is to put the new ones on.
Well, Mike, I got a little thing I've been working on here. There was somebody posted one of these on the Facebook group. I know you didn't see it there since you don't do the Facebook thing, but you take a bunch of capacitors, you parallel them up, you take a light bulb and you charge capacitors up through the light bulb, and they'll charge up, take a moment, and you'll see the light dim down as they get charged. And then across the capacitors, you make you a little set of probes there, or arc welding rods, I guess. I just made them out of copper. And you can take that and touch it across your battery to arc weld it. And the guy was doing it on, he didn't really give any details. I just happened to see the capacitors that he had. I had a bunch of 3300 microfarad at 16 volt capacitors that I was never going to use for anything. So I took 6 of them and tried that. And yeah, it'll make a nice little spark, but not enough to actually arc weld. I think I'd need, bigger capacitors and maybe 24 volts instead of 12 volts. But the thing actually did kind of what it was supposed to, make a spark, but just not big enough.
Right.
That's cool. Interesting idea.
I've heard of people making spot welders out of old transformers from microwave ovens. And certainly I think that would give you enough juice to do it. I think that the thing is to be able to regulate or set the voltages up according to what you're spot welding. I think the control is probably the most important thing, because it's usually either too much or it's not enough.
Original plan was to use it for a UPS. Do you have to do anything to the UPS for it to charge them, like voltage-wise?
Well, yeah, to optimally charge, and I think Tom WA2IVD was in a couple of months ago when I talked about this project that I was working on, and he had mentioned that the charging characteristics are different for a lithium-ion battery pack as opposed to like a sealed lead acid, and he is correct. I think it will charge them, but probably not optimally charged. So, yeah. I'm going to have to revisit that, and when I get enough cells to build the second one, I'll definitely be doing that. I may have to modify the charging circuit in the UPS. Maybe not. I mean, if I read the open circuit voltage on the UPS now, it's over 14 volts, and I think it's within the range of what you want for lithium-ion batteries anyway. All I know is the UPS is, I'm lucky if I get 3 years out of those sealed lead acid batteries. It just boils them dry.
I'm really surprised they haven't started selling them with lithium batteries in there already.
Yeah, I am too. I know I've come across a company or two which are kind of advertising the fact that they have these drop-in replacements which are lithium-ion as opposed, I don't know what they're. I think they may have been lithium-ion phosphate as a drop-in replacement for the sealed lead acid.
Mike, you had a news item here tonight that you wanted to. Well, I don't know if it's news. Maybe it's news, but something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it's not very often that we talk about new products, and especially when there's an amateur new product around, we certainly want to chat about that. And I know with MFJ sunsetting, it kind of left a void in the remote antenna tuner market. And this new product, at least for gigaparts, is a Chameleon URT-1500 remote automatic antenna tuner. It covers all the HF bands from basically 160 to 10 meters, and it'll handle 1.5 kilowatts. Apparently, it's pretty fast. It's supposed to tune within 8 seconds. And it has like 16,000 channels for storing parameters. So if you're tuning to the same frequencies repeatedly, I guess it doesn't have to retune. It'll pull it up from memory. It's low power, and yeah, what else would you want? Anyway, it's good to see somebody else kind of making products that were kind of left behind. I know remote antenna tuners have been around for a long time. I think SCG was one of the first ones that I remember seeing at Hamvention back in the day, and I don't even know if they're still around. Maybe they are, but I think they've moved away from the amateur line.
I don't know.
They're focusing more on commercial or something. But anyway, it's not every day you find remote antenna tuners available for purchase.
And that is a real thing there. You know, when you hear the words new product come out of Mike's mouth, you always kind of wonder what's coming next.
Well,
but that's a real product.
You notice we're talking about it now and not in December, so
correct. Yeah.
Odds are pretty good. It's the real deal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty good giveaway right there.
Yeah, I have a couple of LDG auto tuners that they're both real nice. I don't know if they make a remote tuner or not, though. Those
I don't know. They make a really nice antenna tuner, but I don't know if I've ever seen a remote one.
I don't know.
I know MFJ made them. I know SCG made them. I know Icom makes one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But beyond that, I don't know if there's anybody else doing that thing.
We're going to be back in just a moment. We got a lot more to come. Email has a new single board computer with something special that he wants to talk about. I've got a new device right here that I want to talk about. So yeah, we got several new things going on tonight. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Happy New Year from Icom. This holiday season, let your passion for communication shine bright with Icom's industry-leading ham radios. Celebrate the spirit of the season with reliable performance, cutting-edge technology, and the unmatched clarity that makes Icom a gift worth giving. On the road, Icom's handheld radios offer reliable performance, long battery life, and clear signal quality. Built tough for outdoor use and emergencies, Icom keeps casual and serious operators connected wherever you go. The ID58 provides hours of VHF-UHF fun and enjoyment. Beginners will love the easy D-Star settings, band scope with waterfall display, voice messaging, and share picture function. The ID52A is the first dual-band handheld with a full-color 2.3-inch waterfall display, conventional FM and D-Star simplex, repeater, regional, and worldwide calls over the D-Star Internet Gateway. The IC705 and IC7300 are the go-to rigs for outdoor hams who love POTA and SOTA activations. Both radios feature a large color touchscreen with real-time spectrum scope and waterfall display for intuitive function and setting operation. The IC705 provides big radio features and performance in the palm of your hand. Enjoy HF to 50, 144, and 440 MHz with D-Star, SSB, CW, RTTY, AM, and FM modes. The IC7300 is an industry first to use RF direct sampling in an entry-level HF radio. This high-performance radio has class-leading RMDR and phase noise characteristics and a built-in automatic antenna tuner. The IC7300 will far exceed your expectations. The real HF fun starts here. Or upgrade your station to one of Icom's premium HF radios. With the IC7610, faint signals are no longer challenging for DXers and contesters. Pick out the faintest signals even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. This is the SDR every ham wants. The new IC7760 offers a modern connection system with a separate remote control head and RF deck linked via a standard LAN cable for more flexible installation. Place the RF deck closer to the antenna feed point, freeing up space on your desk. You can even connect the control head to the RF deck through your home network, enabling remote operations from anywhere you're home without a PC. The ICPW2 is the perfect power addition to your base station. Take your contesting experience to the next level. The ICPW2 is a perfect, powerful addition to your base station. Take your contesting experience to the next level with Icom's industry-first linear amplifier with included digital pre-distortion and a built-in 2x6 automatic antenna selector for single operator to radio operation. For more information about Icom's great amateur radios, visit icomamerica.com/amateur today.
Thanks, Icom, for sponsoring Amateur Logic. I got my eyes on one of those 7610s. I got retirement on my horizon. Trying to figure out a date, and I may break down and get one of those for a retirement gift to myself. That said, I think I've got a post here. It's a Facebook post. There it is. It's from my friend David Telling Jr. on Facebook. It says, a sweet story from a lady in Bangladesh. It's, as you can see, it's a write-up from her on dxworld.net. There's the link to it. It's about, I don't want to give it all away, but it was a really good read. I enjoyed it. It's kind of a little bit inspirational. It's about the lady wanted to be a ham, but she wasn't good at making antennas and things, and Elmer's encouraged her and helped her along, and got her license. She's really proud of it. So it's a good story. I enjoyed reading it. I thought some of you guys might as well, so thought I'd share that. The link's there, and the link will also be in the show notes, this show.
Cool. I'll have to check that out because I have not followed it yet to see what's going on.
Yeah, it's a good read.
Yeah.
Appreciate it sharing
I didn't recognize the call prefix. What country was that?
Bangladesh.
Oh, okay.
You guys beat me to the Pi 5, but I might have something that is might rival and inspire some people to look at a little bit different of a kit available from the Pi Foundation these days, with some performance enhancements. Check it out.
Hey boy. Hey Beep. You want to play with the Pi? You want to play with the Pi? Hey George, Tommy, Mike, AmateurLogic.TV viewers. Well, occasionally we explore other topics of amateur devices, and in this case, I have a new Raspberry Pi 5 here that has a very unique feature since they started making some new type of Pis. Normally, the Raspberry Pis boot from a SD card. That usually goes in those slots there, and you notice this one doesn't have one. That's because it's using the new Raspberry Pi SSD hat. Turn that over in the right direction. The M.2 hat plus. So it'll actually boot from an actual SSD hard drive that's on there and use or utilize the Pi's built-in PCI bus. So we're going to take a look and see if that's any better. That's the one I got. I'll find something to do with here at the house with this Raspberry Pi. See how much different it is, or better, or no different. Either way, I thought that was neat, and that's the one I ordered when my first Raspberry Pi 5. Let's take a look. So let's do a little time test here. Plug that in. Various lights come on inside the Pi there, you can see. And from the time I actually plugged it in, I can hear some little fan action going on there, to the time it boots and is actually at the screen ready to use is noticeably quicker to me. Then again, it's the first Pi, but I've actually talked to several other people, and maybe it might be a few seconds different. But there you go. There's some just an initial look at that Pi that's using the M.2 hat for the SSD drive. And you can see they populated it with a 256 gig NVMe in that format in the M.2 hat plus. So take a look and see if we can measure some performance. So just to test a few performance items here, I have the ham clock, of course, installed with the newest version. I'll go ahead and run that into a terminal just to give an idea of how it sets up. Of course, this is a timed delay, so I'll skip that. But in general, I see it being a little bit quicker than my, say, 400, the Pi 400 that I have, monitoring my weather station. And after you get past all of these screens or time issues, it is very responsive on applications there, like the ham clock you just saw. And see, they finally finished the, or fixed the sun issue, which has been down for quite some time. And so let's say from a browser perspective, launch the Chromium web browser, which is built in, and head over to a site that's actually inside the house here. I use the WPSD project on another Pi sitting somewhere else. Right now it's looking at D-Star for my Icom and other radios, other Icoms on the dashboard. So the browser is very, very responsive in general, and applications very fast from what I see. I also have stuff out on the internet that is publishing some things for me, like the WSPR spots in my Pi. I haven't that. In fact, the Pi 400 is actually sending periodic screenshots of my home's weather computer that I can see from anywhere on the internet using AWS. So pretty neat stuff there going on. I noticed it's very responsive. There's some D-Star traffic from a hotspot going on there. And of course, you can also watch some pretty cool dudes on some videos here on the YouTubes. It is also very responsive when it comes to playing that video. Obviously, it's got the onboard GPUs built into the Pis, which makes them very unique. And in this case, the sound is coming through my television, which you can see was instant for YouTube. So they're getting more and more like real desktops in general, as far as that goes, which is awesome for a single board computer platform. But I just wanted to see what performance was going to be of this different sitting. But that is great high quality video from that little Pi over YouTube, over the internet. And that is connected via wireless to my home network. I do have gigabit internet speeds, but I don't think this is going to take advantage of that in its current iteration or development. But they do have gigabit Ethernet there if you need that from a Pi. I don't need that speed throughput, but I mean, again, just from a browser's perspective, or actually using it as a desktop, seems to do really good. Another app under the help section, they have something called Bookshelf built into a Raspberry Pi, which is not the fastest app in the world, but on the Pi 5, I noticed it's pretty decent. In fact, if I open up the MagPi, the latest edition of MagPi magazine, they're actually reviewing this hat that I'm actually showing you right now. So there's something that's really neat. People might not realize is available. You can actually go and get the MagPi magazines online as soon as they come out, and check them out, because there's all sorts of things happening on the Pi fronts on these single board compute platforms. all sorts of development, you name it. And if you're familiar with Linux at all, you'll have a lot of things to use and deal with. So there's just an initial look at some of the performance I've noticed. So some of the specs on this board have to do with throughput here. The Raspberry Pi M.2 hat enables you to connect M.2 peripherals such as NVMe drives, which is what I did, and AI accelerators. Have to look into that. But basically offers a fast or supporting speeds up to fast 500 megabytes per second. Big B, not little b. Transfer rate. So that's what we're going to see. One of the things I like to do always, whenever there's updates available, is to go through the normal Pi update processes in general. You can see there the 5 is pretty darn zippy. Says there's 79 packages that can be upgraded. So we'll do that just to see how it'll zip through that. It's asking me, hey, you sure you want to do this? Why, yes, I am. And of course, this is just the network going to get all the packages. It fetched all those packages. And now it's going to go and start unzipping them and setting them up. And yeah, that's just a wee bit faster than both processing wise. Basically here it's preparing, it's unpacking them. And now it's setting them up. But I think I can pretty much say that's faster than my Raspberry Pi 400 or 4 system in general as far as processing updates go. That's just my take on it. It's actually doing another kernel right there. The image, init ramfs. But just the fact that it went through all of those 79 packages is that's pretty decent. And there you go, it's finished. So reboot, just to do it. Why not? See what it looks like there at the Roku. Here's some fan kicking up over on this side. Gonna put that kernel up and in. There it goes. There it's coming. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bam. So, already ready to go. That is pretty decent. Of course, I don't know if you guys know it, but there's also the auto remove package stuff, right? Just to see if there's anything hanging around. Hey, there's some old stuff. Do you want to get rid of it? Well, yes, I do. Free up some disk space, even though I got plenty. And done. So that is pretty zippy experience for my Raspberry Pi 5 with the SSD or the M.2 board hat, the M.2 hat plus board with the SSD drive. Pretty good performance in my opinion, both processor wise and storage wise. So one of the things you can do to test it out, the NVMe, is to make sure, of course, that's the one you're on. The NVMe, that's the only thing that I have in this Pi. There is no SD card in it. With the lsblk command, of course, you could see it's NVMe. And there's a built-in diagnostic tool that'll test out your hard drive storage. And once you run that test, you can do the show log button here and wind up with some results in IOPS measurements. And if you compare that, the random write speed of 90,021 IOPS, if you compare that and some of the other metrics here to, let's say, the Raspberry Pi 5 with an SD card versus 400 or another model, I think you'll see that there's a huge difference in those numbers. They're much higher as far as the throughput and performance goes of those drives. So cool stuff. with the Raspberry Pi M.2 Hat Plus. They're pushing these single board compute platforms pretty good.
So let me get this straight, Emil. You've got a Raspberry Pi 5 with an SSD to run ham clock?
Dude, I'm going to do other things other than ham clock, George.
Okay. You know, my shoulder is stiff here because the whole thing there, you were twisting on my arm. I'm kind of wanting SSD for mine now.
Yeah, me too. Especially since I went to turn mine the monitor on tonight and found out when we had a power failure in the neighborhood a couple of weeks ago. Apparently, my card got corrupted, so I got to redo it. I'm thinking about doing that.
Yeah, I was impressed with the with it. Like I said, this was my first foray into the 5 model. You guys beat me to it, so when I saw that, I had to capitalize.
So you get an 8 gig?
Yeah, that's the 8 gig with that hat.
I've got an 8, and I really like it, and it is much faster than my 4B 8 gigabyte, but it's not quite as fast as what you were doing right there. So
I'm eyeballing the 500. You guys heard about the 500?
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
I am too.
Is that available yet?
I have a question, Emil, about the hat, the M2 hat, and whether or not I guess it would interfere with the default cooler, the active cooler that you get for the Raspberry Pi 5, right? Yours is integrated into the case now, from what I can see.
The cooler's under it. I see it. Yeah, I think that has the active cooler right under it.
Okay.
It's pretty thin. If you ever look at that active cooler, it's really thin sits right on top of it.
Right, but I was just wondering about, like, for airflow, how does it get around that M2 board and out the case?
I can definitely hear it. You know, it spins up especially when you first turn it on. It kind of ramps down, but I can definitely hear under it. But it doesn't spin up when I'm using it with the apps. So I don't see any interference with it yet. And you saw how they brought the headers up for the GPIO.
So what you're saying is I couldn't cook a back bacon sandwich on it.
It's not hot from my perspective. Like I've gone in there a few times and see if it's breathing fire out the side or the top can cook an egg, and I haven't found that yet. But then again, I'm only running ham clock, like he said. There might be other stuff that comes out later.
Yeah, but running a ham clock on that, it's probably already advanced into next year sometime.
It's warped.
So my claim to fame with ham clock is I run it on the original 256 meg version of the Raspberry Pi 1.
Wow. And I have 2 of those around here somewhere. Well, that I don't know, man. You're probably costing me money, Cheaps.
See, I'm inspirational.
Yeah. I want to thank you. You know, Emil and I spent a lot of time on Skype over the last week or so. I've been trying to get a VPN set up between 2 Raspberry Pis, and one of them is behind a Starlink system, which no port forwarding, any of that, CGNAT, so a little more difficult. We have made tremendous progress, but I got to make one more trip to that remote site and try one more thing just to see, and if it works out, then we'll do a segment on my remote Pi SDR, and which I'm looking forward to getting that. I mean, I'm using it now, but if I could do it over VPN and that everything was running in server mode on that end, it would just be sweet. So,
be sure to bring your snake killing hoe, George.
I've got one there. I keep
All
one,
right.
Keep one on hand there. I've got an actual email here that came from a viewer.
So
I do say. Says, George, you guys give me a lot to look forward to when I start stage 1 of my retirement by changing to a 4-hour day instead of 8.5 hours at work. I'm gathering ideas now for the big plan of buying my ultimate retirement HF rig and setting up my electronics workbench so I can start using my stockpile of antique ICs along with modern components to have some fun. Some of my goals are to make an audio matrix so I can run all my rigs off of one mic, DIY a Kraken of some sort for RDF fun, set up some digital stations for message handling, and wow, keep up the great show. I love seeing the cool projects and will be digging up more of the AmateurLogic issues I may have missed now that I'll have some more time to look at them. Blessings, enjoy the KD0UUU. Well, thanks. We appreciate that. It's always good to hear from viewers out there. I've got a segment tonight that something just came in on Monday. That's one of these little deals right here. It's a FNIRSI transistor checker. And we've seen similar devices before, but you know, this feels good in the hand. It's in a nice little case. When it comes to testing components, you've got options. You can use an analog volt-ohm meter, digital meter, capacitor meter. You can use something like one of these microcontroller transistor checkers that also checks other components, or any number of options. I use all of them at one time or another. Each has their own strengths and weaknesses. This is a FISH 8840 transistor checker that I've had for several years now. It'll check a lot of different components, gives you some readings that you wouldn't normally get with, say, a volt-ohm meter. However, it won't measure everything. Using it in circuit is not always accurate, and sometimes you'll just get inaccurate results with it. But I like it nevertheless. It's good to have around specifically for checking things like ESR on capacitors. I have a capacitor checker, but it won't measure ESR because it's an older model. Recently, my social media feeds have been filled up with this item right here. It's a FNIRSI LCR P1 transistor tester. Same basic thing as this device right here, but in a little more modern layout here. It comes in a case where this one I don't have a case for. I finally gave in and pulled the trigger and ordered one off of Amazon. The FNIRSI website has a lot of details, and that's a crazy name, FNIRSI. I don't know what it means. Maybe something in Chinese. There's a lot of things this will do, just like my little FISH 8840. It says it's got intelligent anti-burn design so that it'll discharge a capacitor before it tries to measure it. Data export over a USB-C connector, although I haven't seen any software that will do that with it. Alternate measure modes, intelligent recognition components, and this is new, Zener diode independent measurements. The FISH 8840 does not have that, and most of this variety of transistor checkers do not. There's a whole lot of them out there. All of these are based on an open source design that was released a number of years ago, and they're all very similar. Intelligent transistor checker. Well, you know, I kind of like the color display. That's nice. I like that it's got a case. It also has a rechargeable battery. I'm kind of mixed on that. I'm not going to use this thing every day, so I just hope the battery will be charged when I do need it. Efficient detection. I don't know. We'll see about that. Anti-burn test board switching made easy. Yeah, you can switch between the ZIF connector that's on it or this little connector right here that allows you to check surface mount components. Precise decoding. Okay, it has an infrared detector on it so that you can decode infrared signals from your remote controls. Zener diode tester from 0.01 to 32 volts. Checks capacitors, inductors, MOSFETs, transistors. 300 milliampere hour lithium battery inside of it, USB Type-C port for charging it. Also, you can update firmware through that. As I mentioned earlier, I haven't seen any software you can download measurements with. Could be out there. You can check field effects transistors, unidirectional SCR, bidirectional SCRs, capacitors, resistors, inductors, batteries, infrared remote control detectors, voltage regulator diodes, transistors, a heap of things. So let's unbox it, see exactly what we've got here. This is the unit. Pretty small. Got a little accessory box here. Inside there we've got some test leads. Got a USB-C connector. Got a little manual. There's not much in there. Some kind of little quality control card. Probably doesn't mean anything. And then here's the other little test socket that you can insert in there. It's nothing special. It's just got, you know, the regular little pins on it like you'd use on an Arduino or something. And you just unplug this one, plug that one in for measuring your surface mount components. Version 1.03. Now there's a newer firmware out there. I have not flashed this one with it. I'll probably do that, but I didn't want to risk bricking it before we even got to look at it here on the show. When it comes up by default showing no component or unknown, that's just the way it comes up. You hit the button to actually do a test. If you want to test a Zener, you got a button for that. We've got it switched to transistor here, which means it's going to do all the normal measurements. If you want to do IR decoding, you flip it up that way. I just happen to have a Roku remote control right here. See what it does. Gives you the address code, also the command code. Let's do some actual measurements. Now, I got a few components here that we'll test. Brown, green, black, gold. That's 5% tolerance. It's a 15 ohm resistor. Measures 14 ohms here on this Metex meter, which actually it's a Micronta. It's made by Metex, which is a German company. Radio Shack sold these a long time ago, but it's very accurate and it's almost spot on when I compare it with my Fluke meter. Of course, it comes up always unknown, no component, or damaged. We just have to hit the test button. Takes a moment. 14.3 ohms. A little off. I guess that's not too bad. I wonder what our old Fish 8840 would say. 13.8. Okay, so a little difference between the two there. Still not far off from 14 ohms. Let's try another resistor here. That's so small, I'm not even going to try to decode the color code on it. 1.01 megohms. One thing I do like is it doesn't time out quite as fast as the Fish does. And if you want to measure again, you can just hit the button again without having to go through a whole reset process on it. 1017 k ohms, which would be 1.017 megohms. I do like the Fish a little better here because it's giving me a little higher resolution. And since this is a real high value resistor, I can't get my fingers on the leads or I'm going to mess up the measurements. .012. So yeah, that's probably acceptable. Here's a capacitor. It's a .0015. Let's see what we get with that. Does take a little while. 31 picofarads. What did I say it was? .0015. I'm going to move to a different set on there. See what we get. 1 nanofarad. I'm not sure what to make of that. Let's pull out my old capacitor meter here. 1.42 nanofarads. This is .0015, so yeah, it's a little under. I'm going to check it on the Fish just to see what it would do. Now, I'm not going to take these leads out. They're going to affect our reading some, but let's just see what it says. 1417 picofarads, that would be 1.417 nanofarads. So pretty close to what the capacitor meter said. This is a 2200 microfarad. And that says it's a 2 millifarad. Okay. Maybe off a little bit. It does show an ESR of 0.01 ohms, which is good. A V-loss of 1.2%. 1975 microfarads. It's a little bit lower. It's like 1.9 millifarads. So, who is closer? I don't know. This one gives me a little more resolution. 1975. What do we get in the old Tenma over here? 1.94. Around 1940 there. So actually the fish is a little closer compared to the Tenma over there. Which I don't know how accurate it is. It always seems to be close enough for my work. Not a precision instrument though by any means. Why don't we check a transistor? Now this looks nice. It's identifying that it's an NPN transistor. Shows us the emitter base and collector, and it's in color, so that's nice. Also gives us an HFE of 192. Now the old fish over here does not have a color display, but it's a little bigger display though, a little easier maybe to read. Okay, it identifies it as an NPN. HFE of 215, so a little variation there. But it identifies the leads as well. Anything else? Well, how about an inductor? It might be nice to know. This is a 0.9 millihenry choke. And it comes back 941.2 microhenries. Yeah, I guess that's pretty good. 0.93 millihenries. There's a little variation between the two there. Who knows what that is? That is a very old germanium transistor. That is a GE2N167. It says it's an NPN, HFE of 75, so not as much gain on this old transistor. It says it's an NPN, HFE of 76, so yeah, they pretty much agree on that. One more component. This one's interesting. Here's an LED. We'll actually get to see this thing in operation. Okay, it knows it's a diode, 2.02 volts. Notice the flashing here. What it's doing is sending a test waveform through their voltages, and you can see them coming through, and it's measuring the voltage. It's also measuring the timing, and that's basically how it's coming up with most of its answers here. I don't have any Zener diodes here, unfortunately, although I might, but I haven't identified them, so who knows what voltage they really are. So I'm just going to say I don't have any. What I do have is some of these large rectifiers that I'm using to rebuild a rectifier stack. Came out of a 35 kilowatt transmitter. Now it has a lot of these in series. So, you know, this is not like a 10,000 volt diode. I don't even know what the voltage is on it. Well, let's see what it thinks here. Because it should be able to give us some kind of reading. Forward voltage, 598 millivolts. That's a lot lower than I would have expected. Let's see what it says for Zener. It doesn't confuse it with the Zener. I think it would probably work. Don't know how accurate it is, but don't have a good way to test that. I've just got this thing this week, and I haven't had time to really play with it yet, so I'll let you know more about it in the future. Comparing it to the old fish, I don't know. I kind of like the old fish and give me a little higher resolution, although I don't know if it's more accurate. It does give you more decimal places to play with. The fish, well, you got to have a 9-volt battery. This has got an internal lithium-ion battery in it. That's good. I like that it's compact. It's in the case. It's more expensive than these right here. So I'm going to say at this point, I don't know. I kind of like the old fish. I feel like maybe I'm getting better results with it, but I have not done the firmware update on this one, so I can't say. If I wanted to test Zener's, I think that probably works. Don't know how accurate it is. That would be handy. I really don't need to do a lot of IR decoding, so I don't know that that feature is really that helpful, and I've got other ways that I could pull that off if I needed to. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think?
I think it's a keeper.
You think so?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. Because field effect transistors are very difficult to test.
Yeah.
And if that thing lives up to its claim, then it's worth it just for testing field effect transistors.
I actually tested some field effect transistors with it for a job. I didn't have any left over when I was shooting this video here. It did measure them, but the fish did too. Both of them measured them. Now, I tried checking them in circuit. No, neither one of them got it right. But just the component by itself, yeah, they both checked it.
I didn't realize the old fish would do FETs as well.
Oh, it will. Yeah. So I like it. It feels good in the hand. It's compact. It's really more convenient.
You'll have to report back to us on the firmware update to see if it made improvements on the accuracy.
Yeah, I like the fish that, it's got more higher resolution, gives you more numbers there, where this kind of rounds off. And I don't know why they're rounding off the numbers, maybe because it's such a small display. They didn't want to try to put too much on there. I don't know.
Well, I know a guy that could probably 3D print you a case for your fish.
He 3D printed a case for his own.
He did.
I've got one in the case.
I have a case for mine. It's a cardboard box that a pair of glasses came in. And I just carried around in that. But, I wasn't going to buy one of these. I read the reviews on them. They're kind of mixed. A lot of people really liked them. Some people said some things weren't exactly right on them. But it just kept popping up on me. And I took the bait. So I like it.
Probably wearing out a lot.
Yeah.
$30 you said?
Oh, no.
I think you were showing us the ad
$30
on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
$30 you say?
Yeah.
Now, that's worth taking a chance on.
You can't get the fish anymore. They don't make that particular one, but there's like a million others out there that's exactly the same thing almost. For very cheap, less expensive than this. Email, likes that idea. He says
One thing
that.
with the fish is it had a design flaw where it drained the battery if you left the battery hooked up in it.
I fixed mine. I don't remember what the fix was right now.
Yeah, you sent me the stuff. I fixed mine too.
Yeah. So it was some little simple something. I don't remember what it was.
I think there's an AmateurLogic with it on it.
I bet there is.
I only have 201 of them to look through to find it.
Yeah.
George, until you said that micrometer, your capacitor meter was a Tenma.
Yeah.
I could have sworn it was the George Thomas model.
Well,
I was going to ask you. That's pretty impressive lettering you put on there. Was that letter set?
It's sort of rebranded there.
If you guys
Like,
have never been
I
in
didn't notice
George's
any
check,
edges
everything
from a
in there has
label
been
or anything.
modified, rebranded. Something, nothing in there is stock.
No,
Nothing.
very little. So, you know, if they just made
Everything from the
things,
cereal box speaker.
yeah, and it's still over there, although the rubber bands on it have dry rotted and the Dixie cup has fallen down inside of it. I think with a new set of rubber bands, I could bring it back to life.
I think you could.
Yeah.
So back to serious though. You're talking about resolution. You're meaning the decimal places, how much it was reading versus not just the size of the screen. That's what you meant by resolution of the measurement.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
This thing, one of the measurements there was, I think it said 2 millifarads on a capacitor. And I checked it on the fish and it was 1.947
Not more
millifarads.
digits.
So, yeah. No, I don't know that that's right. You know,
Yeah, my question is, because you're going based on the labeled value that's on the, say, the capacitor, but what are those capacitors? 20% tolerance?
yeah. But I was also going by my Tenma capacitor checker, which is, I don't know, it couldn't be more than 30 years old. And, you know, I probably paid $49.95 for it. So I don't really have a good reference standard there. By the way, on my fish, I was having some problems with it. And that's maybe one reason I went ahead and bought this. The little ZIF socket in here, you know, you stick your components in, you flip your lever, and it clamps down on the leads and holds it in place. They had gotten bent so that I put a lead in there and I'd clamp down and it would fall out. And I was having some problems with that. Probably because I used some too stiff a wire to make some little test leads for it. And I used it a lot. I took it apart. There's some screws here, same thing on the fish, where you can take that apart and bend that back. And I got it. I got them tightened back up. But let me just say, not for the faint of heart. If you can't do without this thing, you probably don't want to take that apart and try to get it back together. Took a little doing, but can be
Yeah, that
done.
one's pretty small. I used to use on my EEPROM programmer, I had a 40-pin dip ZIF socket that I used to have to open up once in a while and reform the contacts. But, you know, that's considerably larger than the one that's in there. So, yeah, I can see that being an issue.
Yep. Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight. A full show for sure. Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I'm not going to be around next month, so I hopefully when I come back, there'll be some hints of spring happening, and not coming back to like 3 feet of snow.
You need to send us a sign. Give us a sign that you're above the snow. You made it.
Email.
Well, stay warm because I hear the winter's coming to get us in a few days. So I know down here, if we have any snow or other frozen precipitation, we panic in the Southwest. So stay warm and stay cheap.
I think you'll be having some down there first of next week. We're not sure about up here yet. Snow's going to be further south than us, which is
The whole world's
unusual.
upside down.
Yep.
Don't forget about Winter Field Day next weekend. If you're going to do something, shoot an email. Let us know what you do. We'd be interested to hear about it. And if you're in the Jackson area, Mississippi, whatever, in the vicinity, the Jackson Amateur Radio Club Hamfest is the following week. I think it's the 31st and the 31st January, 1st of February. Plan on being there, so hopefully we'll see some of you guys there.
Yeah, email. Are you going to come up for that this year?
I'm going to make a plan. I'm going to try to do that, yes.
Yeah. You and Glenn both should, being that you're
Yeah.
both homeboys now. I don't know what I'm going to have next month for you. It'll be something, though. Got a few things in the works, and hopefully one of them will pan out. We can make some video out of it.
Yeah, I was going to say also, if you do these winter field days, send me some pictures of it. Like maybe we could share some of those on the next show. I'd like to see it.
Yeah.
I'd like to see your setups.
With Winter Field Day coming on, we don't know if we're going to do it yet or not. That's another week away. But you want to be prepared for such events like that. If you needed a hoodie, it's
well, you're going to need a hoodie next week.
Yep. Or T-shirts or anything, you can get that stuff at shop.spreadshirt.com/AmateurLogic. And, he's going Fetterman mode on us there.
Fetterman mode.
Yeah. If you'd like to hang out with the cool kids in between shows or even during the show, although most people watching here while we're shooting are in the chat room there, and they're having an excellent time, you can join one of our social media groups like facebook.com/groups/AmateurLogic.TV.
Or you can follow us at AmateurLogic on Twitter or X.
Or groups.io/G/AmateurLogic. If you're not quite as social as some of the others, you can get emails.
Or you can listen to the episodes on Spotify.
You can. There's a lot of places you can watch or listen to episodes. Like you can download them from AmateurLogic.TV. You can watch it on YouTube. There's a Roku channel that you can watch AmateurLogic.
There's
right
an
on
Amazon Fire Stick channel.
There's one of those.
Or iTunes.
iTunes, or is it Apple Music now? What do they call it?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it's not iTunes anymore.
Yep. Archive.org, it's on there as well.
Yep.
And probably 2 or 3 other places that we forgot to mention.
And ones that we didn't get past a chief compliancy officer.
Yep. And right down here on the bottom, there is a button down there that says like and one that says share. Maybe there's even something down there that says subscribe.
It is.
If you would click on those, we would appreciate it. Tell your mom and them and anyone you think might be interested in this kind of content. We'd be happy to have them. Well, email's waving the mouse LED there. Look, I've got
surrender.
a blue one. Yep.
I clicked on it. I was clicking on it.
I guess that means it's about time to go. Tommy, we were talking earlier about the hack on the fish. If you wanted to take your luck and just do a search and try to come up with what episode that was, how could you do that?
Well, you could do what I would do is go straight to AmateurLogic.TV/wiki. Not Ficky, wiki.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about what we got for Christmas.
What did we got for Christmas, Mike?
My daughter got me this cool mug. Well, let's see. There it is.
Oh.
It's a Star Trek mug. And depending on the temperature of your beverage that you put in it, the away team will transport down to the planet or come back, hopefully. I noticed there's not any red shirt. Well, Uhura is in a red uniform, so I don't know if that counts as a red shirt or not.
In one of them, it looks like she didn't make it back.
Yep. I got something for Christmas here. And it just came in via a Canadian Post. Because of what y'all had a strike or something up there, didn't you, Mike?
We had a strike, and it was the ultimate perfect timing for a strike. Right before Christmas, they went on strike at the very end of November, and it didn't get settled until the after Christmas at the end of December. So everything got delayed. It was kind of crazy there for a while.
Yeah,
deliberate timing.
There's supposedly stuff in here from Tommy and from me both. And Tommy's not here tonight. And we've already kind of run over on the show. So I'm going to hold this a little bit longer. Maybe about the time Easter gets here, we won't wait that long. But maybe next episode, we'll pop this open and see what's in there. Because Mike kind of gave me a hint And there's a good bit to talk about in here. So
As long as it's not perishable. If it is, you
No,
might
it's
not want to
nothing
open it next
perishable,
month.
nothing edible.
No.
So you're good there.
Cool.
all right. Anybody else got any?
Unless it's the world's smallest king cake or something, you might want to save that till Easter.
Yep.
Oh, it's just about king cake season too.
Yes, it is.
Thanks for being here, everyone. Join us again around the middle of next month. And join us on Ham College. Professor Thomas and Dean Martin will be there. How does January 31st grab you? That's Hamfest weekend, isn't it, Tommy?
It is.
So maybe we'll do a different night on that. We'll get back with you, though. Check one of those social media sites we were talking about earlier, and you'll get the details there. And the next Amateur Logic, probably around February 14th. Wait, is that Valentine's Day?
It is.
It is. And
Well,
I may be out of town that week.
Yeah,
I'll
we may
to-
have to get back to you on that one, too. So,
But one thing we do know is the Logic Net is the fourth Tuesday of the month, January 28th.
7-3.
7-3, everybody. Good night.
7-3.